In today's video, I'm going to share the step-by-step process of how to submit a tax return in Germany using Wundertax. Before I share the process, let me answer some of the most common questions. Who has to submit a tax return in Germany? If you have tax class 1, or in the case of married couples who have tax class combination 4-4, you are not obliged to submit a tax return. However, if you have received wage replacement benefits like Arbeitslosengeld, Mutterschaftsgeld, Elterngeld, Krankengeld, Verletzungsgeld, Pflegeunterstützungsgeld, and Arbeitgeberzuschüsse, then you would be obliged to submit a tax return. If you have any other tax class, then you are also obliged to submit a tax return. Should I submit a tax return even if I am not obliged? On average, people who file a tax return in Germany get €1,095 back as a tax refund. So even if you are not obliged to submit a tax return, it's still better to submit a tax return in Germany, especially if you are a student or have many work or study related expenses. What is the deadline to submit a tax return in Germany? If you are obliged to file a tax return, you must do so before the 31st of July of the following year. If you fail to do so, then there may be penalties for missing the deadline. That said, if you get professional help, then the deadline is extended by about 6 months or so. And if you are not obliged to submit a tax return, then you have an option of filing up to 4 years in the past, meaning that in 2024, you can submit a tax return for 2023, 22, 2020, and 2021. Alright, let me share the step-by-step process on how to submit a tax return in Germany using Wundertax. To get started, use the first link in the description and you will get a €5 discount. Click the first link in the description and you'll come to this page. To sign up with Wundertax, you only need your email address. During the sign up process, you'll be asked whether you're a student or an employee. Fill out the correct information, and after the registration process, you'll come to a page similar to this one. I already have an account with Wundertax, but when you sign up with them, you'll have an option similar to this. Here you'll have an option to submit out of multiple years. So in our case, we are going to submit a tax return for 2023. The first one is going to be our personal information or the personal data section. In the tax year, you can again select one of the following years. We are going to select 2023. Next, we are going to provide our first name, last name, and year of birth. After that, we have the street and house number. So the tax office will send your tax assessment to this address. So make sure that you are writing down your current address. If you had multiple addresses during the year of this tax, or for example, if you lived in multiple houses or multiple cities even in the year 2023, you just have to write down the current city that you are registered with right now. So write down the street name and the address here and you'll get a drop-down list from which you can select your address. If your address is not available, you can add your details here with a manual option. In the tax office option, you're going to select the tax office that you are submitting the tax return to at the moment. Similar to the addresses, if you had lived in different places, different cities, it does not matter. The only tax office that matters right now is the one that is associated with your current address. So make sure that you select the one that is applicable right now. In the religion drop-down list, you have multiple options. If you are not obliged to pay church tax, you can select that option or any other option that is relevant to you. Next, we have the option of family status. So if you are single, married, have a permanently separated spouse, divorced, or widowed, select the proper option. Here we're going to select single. If you are married, you'll have an option of submitting a joint tax return. If you're not, then you can select single or whichever option is available and then click continue and save. Now, if you miss out any options or if any fields which are important and you haven't filled them out, then you'll get an error. Like here, I have not mentioned my first name, last name, or date of birth. I am getting an error. Next, we are going to provide our income information. Usually, as an employee, you get a Lohnsteuerbescheinigung in your December or January salary slip. This is a large document which has all of the necessary information which you need as an employee. If you don't have this Lohnsteuerbescheinigung, then you can either ask your employer to provide one, and if you are unable to, or if your employer does not provide you with this Lohnsteuerbescheinigung, you can go to your nearest Finanzamt and ask about this document. If you have received any income as an employee or have received income as a mini job, you can select this option. First, we are going to provide the details of our occupation. Now, this can be the title of your job, and if you have had several jobs within the same year, you can enter the most recent one. So in our case, we are going to write an engineer. Next, as I mentioned, the Lohnsteuerbescheinigung looks something similar like that. So it's a large table which has numbers from 1 to 42 on the left hand side, then the details or the description of what the number is associating with, and then on the right hand side is the euro amount. Here we are going to fill out the information that's written on this Lohnsteuerbescheinigung and the numbers that are associated on the left hand side. For example, here we can see that number 3, annual gross wage or Bruttoarbeitslohn. So if we go and look back at number 3, so this is the detail that we are going to put in this section. But before that, we are going to select which tax class we had. If you had multiple tax classes within the same year, you are going to put in the most recent one. So I'm going to select tax class 1. So based on the Lohnsteuerbescheinigung, you can fill out all of this necessary information. And if your Lohnsteuerbescheinigung has additional details in the field of 17 to 21 or 29 to 32, you can select this option and add in the further details. Now, if you had multiple employments and multiple Lohnsteuerbescheinigung, then you can add another employment and again add the details that are associated to this one. Wundertax has a great additional option. Here you can declare your self-employed income, or if you had a Gewerbeanmeldung, you can add those information here. So for example, if you are self-employed, just tick this option and you'll get additional options. But for the sake of simplicity, I'm not going to add this here. Next, if you had any other income sources, you're going to tick here. And if you had any loss carry forward from previous year, you can select this option. I have discussed loss carry forward in detail in this video. Coming to the expense section, this is where we are going to claim most of our taxes. If you're liking this video, please hit the like button and consider subscribing. So the first option is I had job search expenses. So in the previous year, if you are applying for jobs, you can select this option and add any application costs. This can include passport photos, photocopies, binders, protectors, postage, any of the information here. If you want to know more about it, simply click on more info and provide the details here. If you had any contribution to the university, you can add this information here. If you paid for any seminars or any additional courses, you can add the expenses here. If you provided contributions to any professional associations or vereins, you can add the information here. The next option is for the tax software or any tax literature that you use. Any software or person or any service that you use in order to submit your tax return, you can claim those costs here as well. Last year, I also used Wundertax and it cost me 34.95 euros. So I'm going to put that information here. So if you had any work-related insurances, for example, service liability, accidental insurance, protection of employment rights, or any other, simply click that and add the description first and the cost of that insurance. You can add multiple insurances here. So simply write the description and the costs of individual insurances. Next, we have the telephone and internet costs and the bank charges. Here, the tax office accepts a maximum of 240 euros per calendar year. So here we're going to put in the maximum amount. Similarly, for a bank account, the maximum is 16 euros. So I'm going to write 16 here. Next comes the additional Verbenkosten. If you had any additional costs, you can simply click this option here. So these costs can include any lawyer fees, interest on education loan, or any other expense that is related to your job or your studies. If not, then unclick this option and click on Save and Continue. Next, we have the work and study item costs. So if you have bought any computer, laptop, printer, mobile phone, software, any professional literature, or any professional workwear, then you can put in the information here. If the total cost of your work or study equipment is lower than 110 euros, simply click here to add the flat rate. If not, unclick here and add the details of every individual item. For example, if you bought a laptop, simply click that, add the details and add the cost as well. Then write down the details of the date of purchase. If you have multiple entries, you can add multiple entries here. Again, select whichever is applicable from the drop-down menu, add the description, add the cost, add the date of purchase, then simply click Save and Continue. Next, we are going to provide the transportation to and from our work or home office as an employee. And if you selected this as a student, then you'll have information as a student. So here we're going to provide our home address, then we're going to provide our work address. The distance is going to be calculated automatically. Next, we're going to put in how many days in the year that we went to work. So let's assume if we went to work the whole year, so we're going to select from the 1st of January 2023 till the 31st of December 2023. So usually people go 5 days a week. If your contract is different and you're going less days a week, you can select those here. After that, we are going to provide the number of days in which we had holidays, business travel or sick days. Write down the appropriate number here. Next, we're going to put in the home office. So if you were working in a home office in the year 2023, you can write down all of the days in which you are having a home office. Next, we're going to provide if we use the public transportation for our travel costs. If you were using the public transport, simply add the detail here. Let's assume you use Deutschland ticket for the 10 months. So we can write down 500 euros or any appropriate cost that is applicable for you. Then simply click save and continue. Next, we have additional costs. Here you can add any cost that is related to one of these options. For example, if you have children and you are entitled to child benefits, then you're going to provide the name of your child, their date of birth, Steuer ID number, family benefit office or Familienkasse, parental relationship, and any other relevant details. If you had any household related expenses, you can fill out this form. If you did any workshops or seminars and trainings related to your work or your studies, this option would be for you. If you had a separate workroom, all of the furniture, all of the equipment that is in the separate workroom can be added to this separate workplace. Next, we have the trips and relocation section. Here you can provide the details for any work-related relocation, any business trips. If you're having multiple household, then you can also add the details for multiple household here. Then we have any additional care or health services. We can provide any other information for insurance costs. If you give out any donations or membership fees, you can put them here. Health and nursing insurance details, medical costs, private health insurance or nursing, and disability costs. So for the sake of simplicity, we're going to ignore all of these. However, if you have any questions or if you have a confusion regarding filling out any of the specific forms, please let me know in the comments below and I'll try to either answer the question there in the comments or make a dedicated video to answer the question. For today, we're going to skip all of the additional costs. In the last section, we're going to provide the details of the person who is going to accept or receive the refund. So we can write down their name and their IBAN number. Generally, we add the name of the person who is submitting the tax return. So we're going to write our name here and our IBAN number, BIC, and financial institution. Next, we're going to provide the 11-digit Steueridentifikationsnummer. This is the 11-digit number that you generally receive after you register in Germany. So if you have a tax number from your tax office which follows this following format, you can tick here and add the number here as well. After that, we're going to provide our telephone number so that if the Finanzamt wants to contact us and ask for any clarifications, we can write down here. In the last section, we can add any other expenses or information that we want to provide the tax office, which has not already been declared in any other options. We can write that information here and then click on to summary. Here we get a summary of our tax return. On the top, we see that we are submitting a tax return for 2023. Our approximate tax refund is going to be 1,449. Your case is going to be obviously different. So you're going to have either a plus number, which means you will be getting approximately this number, or if there's a minus number, then you're going to have to pay approximately that much amount to the tax office. Remember, this is an approximate number and there is no guarantee whether you'll receive this exact number or not. So coming back to the summary, we have 0 errors and there is 1 warning. We can simply go here and click on the warning, and this is going to inform us exactly what we have done wrong or what needs to be corrected. And if you had any errors, you will get them here and you can click an option which is going to be here and correct those errors. Here we have completed our tax return process. Next, you can proceed to continue to payment and provide details for the payment. After you have paid the fees, then you can submit your tax return digitally. No need to go and print out any of the documents. Wundertax will automatically submit your digital copy to the Finanzamt. You can expect an answer from the Finanzamt between a couple of weeks to a couple of months, depending on when you have submitted your tax return. So if you submit earlier in the year, you can expect an answer quickly. And if you are submitting it near the deadline, then you can expect an answer from the finance arm in a couple of months. In my personal experience, I've received an answer between 6 weeks to more than 8 or 9 months. So make sure you check your mailbox and see if you get a response from the finance arm. One of the most important features that is missing in Wunder Tax is the option to claim the money sent to parents and family members. In this video, I explain exactly what you can claim. So thanks for watching, bleib gesund, and I'll see you in this video.